Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the love that you've shown each of these graduating seniors, and for the opportunities that you have given them to respond to that love and to share that love with others during these past 4 years. This evening we come to you, not in a ceremonial prayer, but in a prayer of faith, believing that you are the source, that you are involved in our lives, that you are responding to our needs, and that you are directing our paths as we acknowledge you. As we come to such a major stepping stone in the path of these graduating seniors, we give thanks for all the efforts that have been poured into their lives through their parents and teachers and the many people of this community who have done so much to encourage them and enrich their educational environment. We are also grateful for the recognition and the honors that this district has received because of the dedication and service of this fine group of students before us this evening. But we know that the real fruit of our labors will be revealed as these young men and women move on to accomplish the goals that you have for them. So, Father, our prayer this evening is this, that you will touch their lives in such a way that will enable them to reach their total potential, that they will seek your wisdom and strength in all of their endeavors, that their eyes will be focused on you so that they can receive every blessing that you have for them, that they will be filled with the desire to serve you and their fellow man, and finally, that nothing will separate them from your mercy and love. Amen. You can all be seated now.
To begin our graduation ceremony today, we, the senior class, would like to remember our classmate, Mary Elena Ellie-Voss, with a moment of silence. The empty chair represents her constant presence in our lives. Thank you. Over the past 12 years, many people have come into our lives, leaving a lasting impression on the person that each one of us would become. Some of us developed into artists, some into athletes, some into scholars. But for most, it was a combination of all of these. Becoming a person takes the influences of many people. And today, as we graduate, we would like to thank those who have helped us to achieve our finest hours of our lives. We would like to thank our teachers. You have inspired us not only to learn, but to achieve our highest potential. To our friends, along the way, you have become an integral part of everyday life, helping to lift our spirits when in need and create with us 12 years of memories that will last a lifetime. Finally, we would like to thank our families. Through your constant love and support, you have given us the motivation to succeed. As we end the millennium, the class of 1999 will be remembered as making a world of difference at Upper St. Clair High School. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the commencement of the class of 1999. Thank you.
Before I begin my speech, I'd like to thank a few people. First, my parents for all that they have given me. My friends give my thanks for their support. And I thank Colin Ash and Jeff Miller for each being a mentor to me in their own way. My thanks goes to those teachers whose classes challenged me. Finally, I would like to thank the Lord for his gifts and blessings. Soon, life as we see it will be over. Not in a physical sense, but every facet of life that we now know will be different. We will head off to college and begin our academic and social lives anew. We'll come back and see old friends. But no matter what attempts we make at creating old times, there will only be attempts, and the magic of these glorious days of youth will be past. Those friends that we were once so close with will relate stories of their new friends. We'll laugh and hope that they tell their new friends stories of us. We may never again see some of the great people that aren't in your closest group of friends. It is often said that the years in high school and college are the best years of one's life. I heard one of our classmates say that if these are the best days of her life, then she doesn't want to see the rest of life. Remember, though, that we will never be, again, surrounded by love from our friends and comrades on a constant and daily basis. Life was good, and although it was stressful at times, it was not a difficult life. In the easy life, it is easy to make mistakes. None of us lived a perfect life, and all of us have regrets. It is the end of this day, but there is a new day tomorrow. Tomorrow brings a new beginning and new chances. So in closing, I charge you with this. Make plans for tomorrow, but live for today, and live today with no regrets, because these are the best days of our lives.
Things are good for something. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of '99, 4 days ago, we all officially completed the long, long journey that we began 12 years ago. As we embarked on our voyage, we all had but one goal in our minds: getting the heck out of here. Finally, here we are. Last Wednesday, as the Mod 16 bell rang, signaling the end of our last class here at Upper St. Clair High School, millions of thoughts flooded my head. For the past 12 years, I had toiled diligently to get a strong education to prepare me well for the future. Yet when that mod bell rang and I had finally finished high school, a feeling of emptiness sank in. I felt as though I had just climbed a huge mountain, and upon reaching the top, is this it? Am I really ready for what lies ahead? As I began to wonder, I was reminded of something I once read. Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. As I began to consider Robert Fogelman's words, I realized that true wisdom was not atop the high school mountain that we have all successfully completed here today, but was right there in the sandbox at nursery school. Here's a sampling of the lessons that I learned anyway. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Flush. Wash your hands after you flush. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say sorry when you hurt someone, even if they are mean to you. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Try not to pick your nose or it might fall off. If you do pick your nose, make sure no one's watching. And remember, just because you can't see the teacher doesn't mean she can't see you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and work and play every day some. When you go out into the world, be careful. There will be nice people and there will be mean people. There will be short people, tall people, big people, and small people. But remember that we are all people and we all make mistakes. So be patient with others and don't be quick to judge. Don't eat the paste no matter how good it smells. No matter how many times you brush your teeth, that taste isn't going away. Think of what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk around 3 o'clock every afternoon. Or if nations around the world had a basic policy to always put things back where they found them and cleaned up their own messes. And it's still true. The golden rule applies no matter how old you are. Now, I know this advice will never save anyone who's having a heart attack or even help you decide what major to choose next year in college. But let's not forget that sometimes the most important lessons are the simplest ones you won't find in any textbook. These lessons are comprised of values and ideals instilled in all of us by our teachers, family, and friends, the people that love us. No matter what your plans for the future are, be they traveling around the world or studying at Harvard, never forget to be true to the values you learned when you skinned your knee coming down the slide and made macaroni earrings for Mother's Day, because everything you need to know to succeed in life, you've already learned in kindergarten. I'd like to thank my teachers, my family, friends, Jack, Marty, and everyone else who has helped me get to where I am today. Congratulations to you all, and God bless.
Excuse me while I whip this out. Upon reflection, I realized that I don't really know how I ended up here today, with how much I worked. But since I have this opportunity, I have a few groups of people that I would like to thank. First of all, I would like to thank the swim team. The swim team always reminded me what was truly important to my high school career: swimming. Secondly, I would like to thank my band, Pine. These guys helped me keep my sanity through 4 years of high school, and we have a gig coming up on the 19th at Graffiti. Come on out and see us. Now, I'd like to get sentimental for a moment and thank my family. After all, as A. Perez said, "Un asno vio saba, mas que un patro, or in English, an old ass knows more than a young colt. Thank you. Speaking of quotes, here's one that struck me while I was writing this speech. And after all, what speech would be complete without a quote from Star Wars? Your point of view, young Padawan, determines your reality. This quote I have found holds lots of truth. For during these 4 years, I've seen how everyone's point of view determines their own reality, and that we must be open to everyone's reality, because they don't always see it the same as you do. Okay, enough with the deep thought. I'm sure we'll have quite enough of that today. I would like to end with a quick quote from Mr. Sakani. Oh, and I'm sorry about all these quotes, but you can blame our English department. They beat it into our heads. Well, as Mr. Sakani would say, Upper St. Clair, do good job. And, by the way, for everyone who's wondering why in the world I'm going to the Naval Academy, I hear they do your laundry for you.
I don't want to recite the same trite spiel that every graduation speaker says, because I knew it would be a waste of everyone's precious time. For example, I could stand here and rant about how the graduating class of 1999 will build that bridge to the future that will make the world a better place. I could speak of all those pleasant-sounding things that will put a smile on everyone's face. However, I would rather be more realistic and sober to the truth that our generation will not be without our share of mistakes. When many motivational speakers address graduates, they tell us about how perfect we will make the future. But why would our graduating class be immune to the pitfalls that have plagued every other generation of students before us? I realize the initial tone of my speech has been quite cynical, but I'm truly optimistic toward our future when I think of my fellow students. As the parents, teachers, and graduates are well aware, extreme senioritis becomes quite a burden during the last part of the senior year. And the students need tremendous motivation to focus on a task. However, many members of the senior class recently became completely immersed with the local political scene during Community Day. I will not say names or explain details of this already well-known confrontation, nor do I want to start a debate regarding the constitutionality of the events that transpired that day. Rather, I only want to applaud the students' efforts to express their views justly and appropriately. I realize that many adults do not seriously respect contradictory opinions and suggestions of students, and I am proud to be part of the graduating class that did not back down in the face of resistance, but rather stood strong and made its beliefs known. When I reflect on these students' activities and demonstrations, or intense class discussions, I inwardly smile and know the future is secure. Despite the recent acts of school violence and the media's negative portrayal of the youth in our country, I believe the vast majority of students are kind and decent, capable of accomplishing great things if people just let them have a chance. I do not mean to imply that all graduates have the answers or are always correct. The truth is that we will make many mistakes, and the future will not be perfect. There will be many troubles. However, that future will be our future, and it will be whatever we make of it. And I hope we can learn from our mistakes and persevere through the difficulties to make it bright and prosperous. Thank you.
Many have called the township of Upper St. Clair sheltered, that here the students live inside of their own little bubbles, that we all grow up easy, that we have it made for us before our futures even begin. We talk about how USC is safeguarded, even naive to the issues that are broadcasted on the news each evening. Students complain about how the topic of drug use is hushed. No one mentions guns, suicides, violence, or crime. And the students complain that we aren't ready to live in the real world because we've never experienced such tragedy. But you don't need to experience hardship firsthand to have compassion and understanding for it. Students and parents here today need to appreciate the safe environment that Upper St. Clair has provided them with, instead of complaining about what it hides them from. We should feel honored to live in a community where we don't have these worries, because children growing up elsewhere in the United States have not been so lucky. There are thousands of young men and women that never graduated from high school, whose lives were cut too short to have a chance to share their potential. We owe it to everyone who has never made it this far to not take a minute for granted. We owe it to ourselves to live without regrets. I would like to thank everyone here today for making Upper St. Clair such a safe place to grow up in. I would like to thank my grandparents for teaching me to have faith in God. I would like to thank my parents for teaching me how to be an individual. And I would like to thank my brother Neil for teaching me how to laugh. Thank you very much.
There are moments in one's formative years that are remembered with amazing clarity. I can recall sitting in the boys' middle school gym on a fall day back in the 5th grade. The entire student body was gathered to dedicate the new addition onto boys' middle school. Dr. Pope addressed our class by saying, "You are the luckiest class in the history of Upper St. Clair. You have 2 full years to enjoy the new beautiful addition to boys, 2 years in the brand new building of Fort Couch, and by the time the class of '99 arrives at the high school, there will be a brand new facility for us to dedicate." Well, he was close. But another thing imprinted itself on my memory as we sat in the bleachers and listened to those speeches. Above the podium, there was a quote, a Chinese proverb that read, "It is not enough to be superior to all those around you if you are inferior to your own potential." Those words represent the mentality that Upper St. Clair's excellence is founded upon. As superior as our education at Upper St. Clair may have been, no one may feel complacent. Dr. Pope is right when he said we are the luckiest class ever. We have so much potential. Potential to become concert violinists, produce great films, and become successful doctors. The limitless potential of every individual can drive us to achieve dreams beyond the scope of Upper St. Clair High School. And for that reason, for that never-ending challenge, today is the scariest day of my life. The last 4 years have flown by in a litany of new privileges and rights. Freedom to pick our classes, to drive, to vote. But the freedoms we embrace today are different. They're both freedoms from and freedoms to life's scariest offerings. Congratulations, we are liberated from the shackles of secondary education. No more pep rallies and hall passes. We've even gained freedom from our so-called bubble of USC. Many people look forward to a fresh start, a newfound freedom from old images. This is all very liberating and exciting, but we must not forget the freedom to. Along with exhilarating freedom froms, we have gained the responsibilities of the freedom to. We have the freedom to touch other people's lives in a manner they might not have been touched without us. A freedom to finally prove ourselves on our own terms. A freedom to give back to a community who has supported us through the journey that ends today. Every freedom from brings the responsibility of a freedom to, and the greatness of that responsibility represents the next challenge for us to meet. Perhaps as much as today is a celebration of our own accomplishments, it is more a recognition of all the individuals whose hopes we represent. Remember all the teachers who cared enough to give us a second chance, and the friends who always understood. We must remember all the prayers that have been whispered in our support, all of the well-wishing thoughts and sleepless moments spent worrying about our futures. Remember those people with us both in body and spirit who walked us or carried us this far through life. Mom, Dad, thank you. I love you. Grandma, Grandpa, Bubby, and Pap-Pap, I know you've been with me every step of the way. Thank you to all of my relatives and friends for your support. Thank you to all the faculty and administration for continually pushing our potential. I wish all of you the best of luck.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our forefathers brought forth, excuse me, I seem to have brought the wrong speech. Now, while some of you might actually want me to stand here and recite the Gettysburg Address, we don't have time for that, and it is really, really warm outside, so I'll get to what I did want to discuss. Today, I wanted to briefly mention something I've learned this year in high school. Over the course of the year, I've noticed that everybody has tended to look away, to the future, to the horizon. course, it is senior year, and with the massive change that represents, it's hard to stay focused on high school sometimes. What I've learned, though, is that while it is important to have some direction, to look to the future, it's equally important to keep your mind on where you are and what you are doing in the present. By not doing any work now, it's going to be a lot harder to start working again once we go to college this fall. Of course, any senior will tell you that it's hard to do any work during this year. We all know we're not going to be here next year. Then there's that second semester senioritis that everyone seems to catch. You can ask any one of my teachers, they'll all tell you it would have been nice if I had done some amount of work this year. But that's another story. At any rate, I just wanted to say that you should be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment. If you want to get somewhere, it's not enough just to think about being there, but also you have to think of what it takes to get there. All I have to do now is follow my own advice. And in closing, I would love to thank my parents for all their love and support, and I would like to say that wherever I go, I will always carry with me the pride of Upper St. Clair.
Althea Gibson once said, "No matter how many accomplishments you make, somebody helps you." Her words are certainly applicable today. We are here to celebrate our accomplishments, but as we look back, it has been a sometimes difficult road, and not one of us has traveled that road alone. Along the way, there have been certain people who have made a difference in our lives. This is not only true for the graduates, but for everyone here. For me, today is a day to thank those who have helped me, and maybe as I share my memories with you, they will remind you of the special people who have helped you. To begin with, I would like to thank my parents, who taught me that winning isn't everything. I know many of you girls grew up playing in-house soccer. You may remember what a fierce competitor I was when I was 6 years old. And I know my coaches, Mr. Feldmeyer, both Mr. Hendersons, Mrs. Kavanaugh, Mr. Friday, and Mr. Smurl, will remember how I loved to run up and down the field and score goals. But you probably don't remember what would happen when we lost. I would be so disappointed in myself that I would cry right out on the field. It was then that my parents made the first impact I can recall in my life. They whisked me off to the car. There they taught me about sportsmanship and that at times you learn more from losing than you do from winning. From these experiences, I learned how to accept my disappointments, grow from them, and then move on. You've taught me so much over the years, Mom and Dad, but this lesson is one I always carry with me. Someone who took a special interest in me was my neighbor. She was always there for me, whether she was making my pig Halloween costume, designing campaign signs, organizing Miss America parties, or greeting me every day as I got off the bus. Mrs. Piney, your love and concern made Topsfield Road a wonderful place to grow up. I can't forget my basketball coach at St. Thomas More. He helped me to see that size doesn't matter. It's an athlete's determination and dedication that can make him a champion. Mr. Myron, I have not forgotten your message, and it helped me tremendously when I was playing tennis this year. Preparing to go back and defend my state title was difficult, and I felt the pressure. It was then that my doubles partner, in her quiet way, helped me to understand again that you do the best you can and enjoy everything along the way. Lindsay, your faith in me helped me to accomplish more than I ever dreamed I could on the tennis court. My mom has always told me that a good friend should make you a better person. Whether you were my oldest friend down the street, Lindsay Allman, or the girls I've gone to school with since kindergarten at St. Thomas More, or the younger player on the tennis team, Allison, or my two newest and dearest friends, your friendship has definitely made me a better person. Speaking of friends, I have made some great ones this year, and I deeply regret that I didn't get to know them sooner. I'm talking about my homeroom in the activities office. I would truly miss the mornings we spent together, but I am so glad that they happened. You teased me and joked with me and made me come out of my shell. And believe it or not, by the end of the year, you got me to stop taking things so seriously too. I know that many of us have extended family here today, and family is so important to me. To my family members, thank you for loving me unconditionally and giving me a sense of the past and a sense of belonging. Last, but certainly not least, there is Julie, my sister, my best friend. Julie is the kindest person I know. She has always wanted me to do well. With all of my accomplishments, she was happier for me than I was for myself. She was proud of me. I have taken a chance and shared some very real feelings with you. These people have helped me along the way, and I hope that I have helped you remember someone who has been influential in your life. I end with just one thought. You got here somehow, and somebody spent time with you. While you can, thank that person, and then you ought to do the same for somebody else.
The only constant in life is change. Now, someone pretty important probably said that at some point in time, but I'm not really sure who. So for now, let's just say it was me. I say that because of my limited experience, I found that the possibility for change in our lives is both a blessing and a burden. Because we are granted the opportunity to grow into the shells of the people whom we have yet to become, but we're also forced to leave behind the constants in our lives. Perhaps, however, this burden is a blessing in and of itself. To leave behind a constant is to make the self grow stronger, and to embark on a seemingly solitary journey is to develop character, independence, and a greater sense of self. We will miss that which we leave, yet this detachment will create within each of us a stronger sense of what we hold dear to our hearts. We must embrace this change, for it's the greatest opportunity of our lives. We cannot, however, forget our past or our years here, because it is our past that has made us who we are today. We've been lucky enough to find ourselves surrounded by people who've helped tremendously in shaping our personalities and our lives. As I look back on my years here, nothing is clearer to me than the fact that my fondest memories of high school have been shared with my closest friends and family. I want to thank everyone who has helped to make me who I am, all of my teachers, close friends, and especially my parents and sister. We all have such people in our lives who have bettered us to the point that we would not be the same people without their presence. I'm not sure how true it is to say that we're all just starting our lives now as we're leaving high school, because every person, obstacle, and challenge that we face in the future is going to embrace and necessitate every facet of who we are, the facets which have been developed over our years here by the people who have surrounded us to shape us into who we are today at this very moment. As this chapter of our lives draws to a close, we are left wondering about our futures. So much of what is to come is a mystery, but we are lucky enough to leave with this much. We have nowhere to move but forward, we have no one to be but ourselves, and we have nothing to follow but our dreams. Thank you, good luck, and God bless.
Remember falling into the magical world of Alice in Wonderland? I know I do. All the strange characters, ridiculous plot shifts, and just the sheer craziness which was Wonderland itself. Well, I know perhaps it wasn't quite as magical, but I think we can all say that like Alice in Wonderland, no matter what character we played in our high school adventure, all of us belong to a community with as many characters, plot shifts, and just sheer craziness as we could have asked for. I mean, just think about it. Couldn't you just see Mr. De Palma and Mr. Brosnahan as the Mad Hatter and March Hare, sipping their tea at their mad little English tea party? Or what about Mr. Callahan, perched in a tree, giving the inscrutable advice of the Cheshire Cat? And perhaps one of the most striking and perhaps one of my personal favorites, couldn't you just see Coach Render yelling at his football team as the fiery Queen of Hearts? I really love you, Mr. Render. I didn't mean that. Well, even though these semblances are striking, I think that even more important and representing a different level is that just like Alice found herself lost within the strange world of Wonderland, I think all of us at some point found ourselves lost within the labyrinthine halls of Upper St. Clair High School. But as Alice finally realized, it's just when you think that you're lost in a world of nonsense that sometimes it's the most outrageous and unforgettable of characters who leave you with the most sane and most life-directing advice. As many of us have been forced to do upon graduation, Alice at one point asks, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" And like the Cheshire Cat did for Alice, I hope that high school, in some way, shape, or form, provided you with an answer. And that, of course, being, as the Cheshire Cat replied, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to. High school truly helped give me, and I hope all of you, a sense of perspective and direction in life, a direction which I hope will help us all follow our hopes and dreams towards a wonderful future. And with that in mind, I'd just like to say thank you to my parents, grandparents, brothers, dog, teachers, friends, and all the other characters in my life who made high school pretty crazy, yet still a wonderful adventure. Thanks.
Dr. Pope, Mrs. Fulmer, Board of School Directors, parents, teachers, friends, and members of the class of '99. Welcome to the Upper St. Clair High School commencement ceremony. At our annual awards program, the representative from the Naval Academy informed me that during his association with Academy admissions, this was the first year he had encountered 3 appointments to Annapolis from the same school. I believe that this compliment truly symbolizes the character and competitive spirit of the class of '99. Among other achievements, this class represents 8 National Merit semifinalists, 16 commended students, 10 valedictorians, 3 Superintendent's Award winners, 6 All-State PMEA awardees, 1 National Orchestra finalist, 4 WPIAL championships, a state championship in girls tennis doubles, and our first state championship in girls basketball. That game was so exciting, by the way, that Mr. Shalahito warned me that if I kept yelling like Dr. Pope at the officials, he wouldn't sit near me. I don't think he understands this, Bill. 3 students from this class maintained perfect attendance through all 4 years at the high school. I see this as a truly significant achievement. Given the ambitious construction schedule and the physical condition of the building this past year, it would have been impossible to continue the educational process without the daily leadership, support, and CPR, that's courtesy, patience, and respect, displayed by this senior class. I happen to agree with Steve. Contrary to recent predictions of doom and gloom concerning our youth, I firmly believe that the future is in good hands. I'll cast my faith with the class of '99. Dr. Pope, as principal of Upper St. Clair High School, I do hereby certify that the students gathered before us have met the requirements for graduation as mandated by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Upper St. Clair Board of School Directors. Dr. Pope, it is with great pleasure that I present to you the Upper St. Clair High School class of 1999.
Before I begin, I need to thank all of our faculty who have given so much of themselves to the class of 1999, and to the parents who cherish their children for what they are and not for what they would like them to be. We're here today to celebrate the success of the class of 1999. You may be the last class of the 20th century, or simply the last class to graduate from the original high school. Either way, you should be proud of who you are, where you've come from, and most important, where you're going. Each of you has achieved success today. It is that success that we are here to celebrate, and let the celebration begin. But you must eventually face the uncertainty of tomorrow. The criteria for success, however, is the same. Success depends on continually generating new ideas. Some of the techniques that may help you are: beware of complacency. Remember the giant computer company IBM? They didn't have the healthy level of fear that you need to stay ahead of the game. They thought that none of the startup little computer companies would ever have a chance. Those little startup companies were Apple and Microsoft. I'll bet everyone at IBM knows them and fears them just a little bit now. Speaking of Microsoft, you probably know Bill Gates. He is by many accounts the richest, most successful man on the planet. As rich and successful as he is, Bill Gates did not anticipate the internet and has been scrambling ever since to catch up because he missed a major aspect of his industry. No one, not even Bill Gates, is immune to complacency. Remember back in 1985 when you were going into kindergarten, Cabbage Patch Kids dolls were the best-selling toys on the market. Everyone had to have one. After that, Coleco, the company that introduced the sensational toys, didn't bother to change. They became complacent, and as a result, Coleco went bankrupt in 1988. Think the unthinkable. Most businesses are simply not willing to tear apart last year's model. For example, in 1987, when you were in the first grade, General Foods, Procter & Gamble, and Nestle owned 90% of the coffee market. It was unthinkable that startup companies like Starbucks would ever be successful and ever unseat them. The priority for customers was no longer price, however. It was quality, and customers were willing to spend twice as much for gourmet coffee. By 1993, when you were in the 7th grade, the little quality roasters like Starbucks owned 22% of the coffee market. That $1 billion created a lot of unhappy bean counters at General Foods. Failed to succeed more. Take the case of David McDonald. Mr. McDonald sold books door to door. He had many doors slammed in his face before he had a chance to make his pitch. He decided to give away a free gift so he would be allowed to make his sales pitch. He chose a small vial of perfume, which he made himself. When he discovered that the women preferred the perfume over the books, he stopped selling books and created his own company. You may have heard of it. It's called Avon. Dare to break the rules. Leo Burnett broke the rules that said words are more important than images in advertising. He created the following images that say more than words ever could: Tony the Tiger, the Jolly Green Giant, the Marlboro Man, the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Keebler Elves, and Morris the Cat. Breaking the rules is not easy. It takes courage. When you come up with a new idea or a new way of doing things, critics will come out of the woodwork to ridicule and discredit you. They do not want to change, and they want desperately to maintain the status quo. Criticism from adults is the main reason that children lose their creative abilities. It's no wonder that children who are criticized for coloring outside the lines grow up to be adults who can't think or function outside the box. If I can offer one bit of advice today, it is think like a child. Inside the mind of a child is where creativity resides. Childlike thinking enables you to be more spontaneous, loose, and fearless, so you can create new ideas. Don't ever lose the innocent curiosity and passion that characterized your youth. Remember, it will not be the status quo or the fear of failure that will make you a success. It will be what you learn from failure and how you turn every disappointment, indeed every obstacle, into your advantage. Nothing makes you more attractive, more triumphant, and more successful than a smile. That is something no one can ever take away, and something that makes everyone want to follow you. Let me close with this perspective. The title of this little essay is called Dance Like No One's Watching. It defines better than I what happiness and, I believe, success are, and what I would tell my own children if they were sitting where you are sitting today, or anywhere, listening to their father, who just happens to be the local superintendent. See if you agree. Dance like no one is watching. We convince ourselves that life will be better after we get married, after we have a baby, then another. Then we are frustrated that the kids aren't old enough and will be more content when they are. After that, we're frustrated that we have teenagers to deal with. We will be certainly happy when they are out of that stage. We tell ourselves that our life will be complete when our spouse gets his or her act together, when we get a nicer car, take a nicer vacation, when we retire. The truth is, there's no better time to be happy than right now. If not now, when? Your life will always be filled with challenges. It's best to admit this to yourself. One of my favorite quotes comes from Alfred D. Souza. He said, "For a long time, it seemed to me that life was about to begin, real life. But there was always some obstacle in the way, something to be gotten through first, some unfinished business, time still to be served, a debt to be paid. Then life would begin. At last it dawned on me that these obstacles were my life. This perspective has helped me to see that there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. So stop waiting until you finish high school, until you go back to school, until you lose 10 pounds, until you gain 10 pounds, until you have kids, until your kids leave the house, until you start work, until you retire, until you get married, until you get divorced, until Friday night, until Sunday morning, until you get a new car, until you're a new home, until spring, until summer, until fall, until winter, until the 1st or the 15th, until your song comes on, your name is called, or your dream comes true, to decide that there is no better time than right now to be happy. Happiness is a journey. It's not a destination. A thought for the day, this day. Work like you don't need money. Love like you've never been hurt. And dance like no one's watching. God bless the class of 1999. Mrs. Fulmer, School Board President, may I present to you the class of 1999.
Thank you, Dr. Post. Speaking to a group of teenagers is never an easy assignment. So I shall do what I do best. Give you some motherly, perhaps grandmotherly advice. Advice that if you heed it will not make you wealthy or wise, but perhaps it will enhance your life. First, read. Keep the company of good books. Books are great companions. With them, you will never be bored or lonely. Learn to write well. Spoken words linger in the air and then are gone, but the written word lives forever. Learn to express yourselves clearly and concisely. Words have meaning. Choose them wisely. Learn to cook one really great meal, from hors d'oeuvres to dessert. The people who eat it will never fail to be impressed, even if they have had the same thing 20 times. Treat everyone with respect, regardless of what you really think. The street sweeper or the grocery store bagger may later be your benefactor. Make deliberate choices. Don't watch TV just because it's on. Don't follow the crowd because it's the easy thing to do. Select your friends well. Their influence will often last longer than their friendship. Abolish like and you know from your vocabulary. This drives everyone over the age of 50 absolutely nuts. Tell your parents and your sisters, brothers, how much you love them. They may already know, but everyone likes to be reminded. Disagree without being disagreeable. A good argument is very healthy, but it should never become a personal attack. Travel. The world contains many marvels. Try to see them all. Besides, it's a lot of fun. Become fluent in a foreign language. English may be the lingua franca, but learning another language will offer you great insight into other cultures. Develop a taste for the classics. Shakespeare, Rembrandt, Mozart are still around, not because they were merely good at what they did. They were great. Stick your neck out from time to time. You may sometimes get your head chopped off, but only by having experienced failure can you truly savor success. Find a career that you like, regardless of the pay. No amount of money can replace the joy of a job that you really love. And the most mature thing you can do, take responsibility for your own actions and be prepared to take the consequences for them. This is perhaps the only sure measure of an adult. Congratulations, Godspeed, Upper St. Clair High School class of 1999.
Daniel Joseph Mazzarini III, President, Senior Class.
Adam Charles Stroach, Treasurer, Senior Class.
Christine Elizabeth Benedetti, Vice President, Senior Class.
Elizabeth Totten Shive, Valedictorian Class of 1999, Secretary, Senior Class.
Niraj Srinivasan Chandra, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Adrian Nicholas Bishop, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Stephen Robert Nicholas, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Jonathan William Lexi, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Daniel Micah Singerman, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Lindsay Marie Orchowski, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Balaji Ashok Sarpeshkar, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Lauren Sue Purnell, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
Ross Frank DeMarco III, Vice President, Student Council.
Ashish Mukesh Shaw, Valedictorian, Class of 1999.
John Paul Maleo, Executive Secretary, Student Council.
John Allen Bryan, President, Student Council.
Todd Reed McClintock, Executive Officer, Student Council.
Matthew Lewis Moritz, Executive Officer, Student Council.
Guy Allagim.
Brian Michael Latz.
Stephen Philip Albert.
Tanya Lauda.
Troy Patrick Albright.
Kristen Marie Lakes.
Sarah Elizabeth Elkson.
Joseph Edward Lang.
Megan Elizabeth Allen.
William Lewis Lukaiden.
John Joseph Altamar III.
Devin Scott LeBeau.
Charles Eric Altopedi.
Matthew Lepley.
Ashley Nicole Ames.
Michael John Lasonic.
Carol Anglin.
Daniel Christopher Lestitian.
Sam Harlow Astorino.
Lauren Alexis Lewis.
Anuja Vijay Athani.
Mariah Lee Lewis.
Elizabeth Joanna Bartlesman.
Danielle Marie LaChase.
Jamie Renee Basista.
Antonio Lofrida Mancinelli.
Jennifer Rebecca Basista.
Joshua James Lostetter.
Brian Garrett Bates.
John Matthew Lowenhoff.
Robert Brendan Bates.
Alina Danielle Lyons.
Nicole Elizabeth Beaver.
Rebecca Ashley Main.
Jacqueline Lee Bell.
Kristen Lee Mandler.
Samantha Ray Bennett.
John Ryan Markey.
Ayelet Benzvi.
Amy Lenora Martin.
Emily Patricia Bezak.
Jared Andrew Martinsik.
Velva Isadora Benato.
Eric Richard Matthews.
Jessica Lee Black.
Michael Robert May.
Joshua Eric Bodine.
Alexandra I. Mayer.
Bradley David Bonenberger.
Mary Ann Mazzarini.
Shannon Marie Boynes.
William Brown McCready III.
Tina Susan Bracco.
Ryan Patrick McDonald.
Kevin H. Brown.
Kathleen Murray McFadden.
Brian Raymond Birch.
Nicole Sherry McIntyre.
Courtney Marie Burke.
Stephen James McIntyre.
Stephanie Berner.
Thomas Hughes McKnight.
Maria Rose Cardamone.
Ryan Robert Arthur Mearstein.
Andrea Christine Carnaggio.
Michael Joseph Mellon.
Ricardo Maurizio Catalucci.
Benjamin Michael Miller.
Bridget Ryan Kavanaugh.
Matthew Charles Miller.
Nora Patterson Kavanaugh.
Russell Hartman Miller.
Brandon Ernest Saloni.
Mark Jeffrey Minard.
Charles Andrew Chadwick.
Sean Paul Mitchell.
Andrew Allen Shute.
John Kenneth Maslin.
Anthony Michael Colatrella III.
Joshua Allen Monken.
Erin Elizabeth Connolly.
Lindsay Elizabeth Moore.
Christopher Justin Conrad.
Ryan Eric Morrison.
Marissa Lee Corris.
Beth Ann Mullen.
Brooke Ann Cowles.
Amy Elizabeth Myers.
Kimberly Michelle Coyne.
Colleen Elizabeth Myron.
Emily Marie Kreiner.
Elizabeth Lee Nom.
Jonathan Michael Curran.
Rebecca Downing Nance.
Megan Marie Dalzell.
Anna Margolis Newman.
Christopher Michael Damage.
Sean Alexandra Noble.
Evan Wainhouse Davis.
Sarah Alyssa Nodelman.
Eric J. Day.
Katie Elizabeth Norowski.
Becky Lynn DeBaker.
Jane Margaret Oak.
Nicole Litchfield Decato.
Kathleen Brian O'Connor.
Catherine Rose DeFrancesca.
Dante Oliverio.
Bethany Christine Dietz.
Neil Robert Orchowski.
Camille Joy DiIlio.
Randolph Allen Oswald.
Jennifer Marie DeSilvio.
Emily Margaret Palermo.
Patrick Joseph Donahue.
Carmen Joseph Palmieri.
Bridget Samantha Doherty.
Charles James Pascarella Jr.
Andrea Lee Drenning.
Amy Gautam Patel.
Michael Joseph Duda.
Monak Parik Kumar Patel.
Meredith Ann Eglai.
Alyssa Rose Perlman.
David Taylor Enoch.
Jessica Helen Petner.
Kristen Marie Evans.
Timothy Pyatt.
Lydia Christiana Frandry.
Miranda Lee Pearson.
Dana Bridget Feldmeyer.
Kathleen Starr Petropalo.
Gregory Julius Fino.
Matthew John Poplowski.
Aaron Elizabeth Fisher.
Joanna Sharon Pop.
David William Foley Jr.
Elizabeth Ann Post.
Leanne Marie Ford.
Christopher Daniel Pulaski.
Lauren Christine Frank.
Marie Gerard Joyce Pison Ramirez.
Paul Digby Frank Jr.
Justin King Rainier.
David John Franisich.
Michael Towns Recker.
Emily Elizabeth Freeman.
Sandra Smith Rechtenwald.
Bethany Lynn Friday.
James Scott Restivo.
Heather Marie Frick.
Jocelyn Marie Rose.
Ken Faruya.
Kirsten McKay Richardson.
Jonathan Granger Gogler.
Jonathan Thomas Roberts.
Joseph John Gall.
Amy Lee Robinson.
Colleen Mary Geiger.
Frank Edward Romano.
Jonathan Mark Guest.
Ethan Homer Roseborough.
Lorraine Rose Geyer.
Laurel Ann Rosen.
Ian James Gilmore.
Chad Lee Rowland.
Crystal Marianne Elaine Gerard.
Layla Blanche Rafino.
Brian Christopher Glaister.
Ryan Anthony Ruggiero.
Gretchen Lynn Gloff.
Jeffrey Walter Rulong.
Priya Gold.
Kristen Noreen Salamone.
John Thomas Gorman.
Dawn Marie Salerno.
John Marshall Grafe Jr.
Robert Bruce Salmond.
James Charles Graff.
Jennifer Ann Sanker.
Michael Christopher Grimes.
Kristen Jones Sirocco.
Kristen Marie Guest.
Daniel Patrick Schaefer.
Deepaka Gupta.
Matthew Christian Schaefer.
Jeremy Nicholas Haffenden.
Matthew Douglas Scott.
Gretchen Lee Hagerman.
Ryan Michael Skurman.
Jessica Hollowell.
Adam M. Sakala.
Sean Michael Hamilton.
Charles English Seymour.
Eric Scott Hartreader.
Christopher Reed Shepard.
Jennifer Lynn Hartman.
Whitney L. Sedal.
Chauncey F. Hartwig.
Dana Eileen Sloan.
Greg Stephen Hartsburg.
Andrew Gardner Smith.
Greg Robert Hedgren.
Craig Andrew Smith.
Abigail Marie Heffernan.
Stephanie Elizabeth Smurl.
Erica Elizabeth Henderson.
Patrick Christian Snavely.
Christina Summers Henderson.
Aaron Joseph Spangler.
Kathleen Ann Hewlett.
Michael David Spirito. Lyndon Harrison St. Clair II. Corinne Ann Stefanik. Amanda Marie Stahora.
Andrew Coleman Hitt.
Catherine Rosin Stevens.
Adam Francis Lavitt.
Allian William Stevens.
Michael Jonathan Knapp.
Joseph John Stuckert II.
Brooke Lee Hockendoner.
Joanna Rose Stump.
Sure.
Stephanie Lynn Swarner.
Todd Allen Hoffman.
Beth Michelle Sweet.
Catherine Elizabeth Howe.
Neofumi Takayanaj.
Amanda Lynn Hutchinson.
Michael Anthony Tedeschi.
Beth Jamie Isco.
Whitney Aaron Thompson.
Ashley Elizabeth Jesselneck.
Marcus Valet Tito.
Benjamin Craig Jewell.
Joyce N.K. Ting.
Eileen Jennifer Joel.
Lauren Todorovich.
Joseph David Johnston.
Michael
Steve Michael Johnston.
Catherine Elizabeth Totten.
Marissa Elizabeth Jones.
Sanjia Trivedi.
Kimberly Ann Joniak.
Scott Thomas Turnbull.
Sean Patrick Jonnet.
Jeffrey Robert Van Wassen.
Jason Roy Julius.
John Lloyd Vogel.
Angela Christine Juliuson.
Jonathan Kenneth Wagg.
Daniel Kirk Juliuson.
Brenda Mae Wall.
Matthew James Jersick.
Robert Chen Ping Wong.
Benjamin Habib Kale.
Matthew John Wayner.
Mary Beth Carabino.
Regina Marie Worley.
Stephanie Ann Cart.
Haley Cassandra Wise.
Adam Michael Katz.
Emily Jean Welsh.
Navidad Cole.
Kristen Michelle Werner.
Jason Brandon Taylor.
Paul Francis Whiteside.
Christine Marie Cayley. Kristen Marie Cayley. Excuse me.
Ryan Allen Wilson.
Joel Adam Kinger.
Justin Anthony Wotan.
Daniel Isaac Kleinman.
Annie Teresa Yeagers.
Paul Edward Kletter.
Meredith Suzanne Young.
Rebecca Marie Cole.
John Celestino Zambri.
Eric Morgan Comer.
Jonathan Maskew Zabrowski.
Alan Robert Putnam.
Jenna Sonnenfeld.
Nicholas Andrew Kowalczyk. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to the graduating class of 1999.